Darth Tyrannus is in the DorkLair. Welcome to another DorkLair action figure review. Today I'm taking a look at the SH Figuarts Count Dooku from Revenge of the Sith. This figure is one of the Tamashii web exclusives, and because of that, the price is a little bit higher, and due to the high price, I kind of am a little bit underwhelmed by this figure, quite frankly. It's definitely got some positive things going on, but it just, when you end up paying more because the exclusives, you can't find like discounts on the exclusives, it becomes really hard to sort of justify figures that are a little bit lesser quality. And this one has some problems, in my opinion. It's not perfect, but it's not like garbage either. I hear people sort of talking about this as like the worst SH Figuarts release ever. I don't think it's necessarily terrible. It's just got some questionable finish qualities to it. And then it's also got really just a futzy cape that just does not look right unless you really mess around with it. So, you know, it's a mixed feelings for me. I think the likeness is great, but generally, you know, the figure just doesn't feel like a $70 figure. And I get it, like SH Figuarts are not $70 figures. It's just $70 for us because we have to import them. And then when it's exclusives, there's no discounts for the retailers or anything like that. There's no wholesale purchases of these figures. So, you know, you're paying, I mean, essentially the MSRP of this is the same as the MSRP of any other Figuarts Star Wars figure. It's just that you can't get any discounts, so it becomes a little more disappointing when the figure is a bit of a letdown. But it's far from garbage. I think there's definitely some nice quality, some cool accessories, and let's jump into this review. Okay, starting off with the packaging. And before I even mention the packaging, I'm just going to put the figure next to it so you can get a sense of how different the color is from the actual like promo shots to the release. This is so much darker and would have been so nicer, a little more matte finish. This one's like all brown and shiny. So that's going to be one of my biggest complaints is the color of the actual outfit. It just feels plasticky. I wish it would have looked like this. But you can see it's the standard the standard exclusive packaging with just a picture on the front of the box rather than a window, which I actually prefer the window. This is a wider package. I guess because of the cape, I don't really know why. It doesn't feel like a figure that would need a wider box, but it has one. And you can see some images on the back there and around the side. And of course, we have this anti-counterfeiting, anti-knockoff sticker over there. And you can see the top and the bottom of the box. And getting a look at the sculpt paint and details on Count Dooku, the head sculpt I think is really nice. I think it looks like Christopher Lee. I think they've done actually a really good job on the head sculpt, quite frankly. It's got a good likeness of the character. I do think that my one problem with the head sculpt is that the expressions are so similar. So you have, I guess this one's more angry, and this one's just more stoic slightly, but they're so similar it's almost hard to differentiate them. You can see a few little differences in there, but yeah, I wish one was a little angrier, a little more aggressive and more action based. But it is Count Dooku. He is a very stoic kind of guy. So the eyes look nice on both of mine. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the heads. I think they look good. The hair has a little bit of a wash in it. So the gray silver hair looks great. And yeah, I'm very happy with the head sculpts here. And then moving into the cape, I guess next is where I have totally mixed feelings. I think the finish of the cape, the shiny inner lining and then the brown outer cape, the darker and the lighter mixed in there. I think the colors and the way it looks and everything is nice, and the materials are nice, but it just doesn't scale right. And what happens is it's so floaty. In fact, I have it pinned right here. I actually have the cape pinned. If I take the little pin out, and I'm trying to be careful, I don't want to catch anything here. And then you get the cape into its natural position. It doesn't really do much more than float out like this. It just it's just a triangle. So it doesn't scale well in that, like, there's no drape to it. It just sort of pops back out, and it's kind of annoying like that. But the actual, like, materials and the look of it, man, that is really sweet. I don't know if it's terribly screen accurate per se, but it's nice. That one thing that's kind of annoying, I guess it makes it hold its shape, is like, there's no, this is stitched on. This fold over is completely stitched on there. I had no idea it would be like that when I took it out of the box. But then he's got a little bit of a chain there, which actually I think looks decent. Usually these chains, they look gigantic and they just don't look right, but I don't think it looks terrible. I think the chain is okay. It's pinned onto him here and here. I don't know. I haven't tried to pull it off. I don't want to mess around with it too much because I don't like to have an extra figure or anything like that. But yeah, so it's pinned in there. You could probably pull that out if you want to. If it's glued, you might be able to heat it up and pull that off. And then there's a stitching across the top back here as well. It's a nice cape, but it just does not flow right. And so I've kind of resorted to folding it like this and then pinning it, and then it feels a little more straight. Like, it feels like a little more of a natural look to it. So I'll pin that back later and get that back on there. But you can see underneath how it is up at the top there. Yeah, so I have mixed feelings about the cape. It's kind of good, but it's also, posing wise and just the way it sort of rests, it just does not look natural. It does not look like Dooku's cape just resting. It should be sort of like draped down like this, you know. I think wires would have been perfect on this to just get it into the right position. Maybe a wire right down that seam and then all the way down the bottom here would have been quite good. Okay, and then probably my biggest gripe with the paint and sculpt and stuff is just that the plastic, pretty much all of the body is just this lightish brown. And I'm going to bring Anakin in here just so you can see the difference between these two. So I really wish they had used what they did on Anakin with this. So you can see on Anakin, not only is he a darker brown, but it's a sculpted, like, plastic. Like, it's actually got a pattern and a sculpt, a weave of fabric to it. I know, like, it's not supposed to be some kind of Jedi coarse robe. It's Dooku, but I really wish there was some texture to it and it was just darker, maybe some contrast with the belt. So yeah, like, lighting wise, you know, you can get it to darken up a little bit and stuff, but generally it's just too light. It's not a great color and it doesn't work well with it. I wish it was a little bit darker, and more so I wish it was just a different finish. It's just so shiny. It's almost like his whole outfit is made out of leather. And I don't think that's supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be like a dark brown fabric, or even close to a black fabric. You can get down in here into the boots and see how those are sculpted. Those are nice and clean. They look pretty good. Now, those look like leather, and that's where leather is supposed to be. I just don't think it's supposed to be leather all up in here, and that's what it feels like. So that's a little bit of a letdown. But, I mean, other than that, other than the fact that its color is off like that in the cape thing, it's a great figure, and we'll get into the accessories after we take a look at some of the other figures next to this guy. Okay, so I have his cape pinned back up again, and back to Anakin. Here's Anakin next to Dooku. Get him lined up just about there. And then Obi-Wan Kenobi, I got him in a pose, but we'll get him over here like this. So a couple other Revenge of the Sith characters next to Dooku. He's properly tall. I think Christopher Lee was very tall. And then, let's see here. Let's get a couple troopers going. So here's a battle droid. That's from the Phantom Menace, but still, there's still battle droids around in Revenge of the Sith, and then a actual Revenge of the Sith clone trooper. So you can see him next to those characters there. And who else do we have? Apprentice Qui-Gon Jinn, right next to his former master. And one more figure, because of the scene in Attack of the Clones, there's Jango Fett. And a lot of people don't like that Jango Fett figure either, but I actually think it's a great figure. I think it's a really cool release. But yeah, so there he is next to a couple other figures. Oh, and one more figure, actually. So not an SH Figuarts, but I do have the Bandai 112 model kit of General Grievous. General Grievous right here, if I can get him to stand, next to Dooku. And as I said, Dooku comes with this second head sculpt. Looks very nice. Again, the head sculpt, in my opinion, is probably the best part of this figure. And I know I'm kind of down on it, but it's not a terrible figure. Some people are calling this the worst thing ever, but I don't mind it. So here's the unignited lightsaber hilt that pegs into his belt. You can tell that this is sculpted. I think this is sculpted in clear plastic and then painted on top. The paint job is nice. Let me get a little more light over here if I can. So, yeah, you can see it right there. Pretty good looking lightsaber. And then here's the other one that's actually got the blade on it. And the blade on this one will come off. But it doesn't look normal with the blade off because it's missing, when the blade comes off, that little thing comes off with it. So, you know, it doesn't quite look normal or complete without it. But it's nice. I don't think the shine is coming over very well in the video, but it's actually got a very metallic silver look to it. It kind of really matches that affluent Dooku style. So I actually really like the lightsabers. And then he's got these hands that have lightning on them. Sith lightning, Force lightning. And that's a really cool thing. I'm so pumped to have that. I think it's a great look. He'll probably be on my shelf with these guys sticking out of his hands. And, you know, they're painted nicely. They have, it's like sculpted in clear. And then I think there's a blue on top because it gets sort of clear. Seems to get a little bit clearer as you get towards the hand. So I think that blue is painted. I don't think it's cast in that blue per se, but it's hard to tell. But it's a really nice looking effect, and it comes in right out of his fingers. Pretty neat. That's actually probably my favorite part of the figure, that and the head sculpts. And then he's got two of this hand, which is the lightsaber holding hand, and then he's got two fists just like this. And then he's got two open hands that are, you know, force moves, action, open palm hands. So he's got a pretty good amount of accessories, which is nice because he's a little bit more expensive, being an exclusive. And it's always nice to feel some kind of justification for paying, you know, the extra money for those figures. And finally, the articulation. Dooku can look up a very good amount, actually, because the neck, you've got the collar here that's part of an articulated point, and then there's articulation at the top of the neck, and then he can swing his head down a very good amount as well. So he's got some pretty good neck articulation, a little bit of side to side. It's pretty stiff, very nice tight joints, but not too crazy. And, you know, he can obviously look side to side. You do want to sort of pay attention to where that neck is because it'll move around a little bit underneath, and it can be kind of tricky to get it back into position down there. But it's nice that there's a lot of articulation going on in the neck. And taking a look at his shoulders, there's a big butterfly joint over there. This kind of breaks up the sculpt a lot and gives it another kind of, you know, I don't know that Dooku needs that much articulation, quite frankly, but his arm can come across nicely. So if you want to do a nice over-the-top double-handed lightsaber grip, you can totally do that. It's pretty good articulation there. It'll swing back and forth, and then there's all sorts of articulation underneath there. It kind of rotates at the shoulder, but it would be nice if there was a cut here, because like a lot of the figures, it just makes it hard to come across the body like this. With the arm. Luckily, there is a little bit of rotation at the elbow, and the elbow comes up this far, so past 90 degrees, and straightens out like this, and it'll rotate all the way around. So, you know, there's a lot of really good articulation in these arms over here. And checking out the torso. You can see that he'll crunch forward quite a bit. There's one at the top of the torso and one at the waist, and he'll crunch back really far, and he'll rotate side to side really nicely as well. So very highly articulated Count Dooku. It's like an 80-year-old man who can do some yoga. All right, and then the skirt is a soft vinyl, and that's going to be pinned right here. It's glued at that point. So it's going to be kind of tricky to get the legs to kick out very far. So that's one place where it's a little bit limited. So you really can go out maybe that far before you sort of get stuck there. You can swing back, about that much. His legs will twist around at the upper thigh, but I think that's at the ball joint. That's not like a thigh cut. And he can bend his knees past 90 degrees. So quite good there. There's no rotation here at the cuff or the knee or anything like that. Lots of good articulation in the foot. Let me brighten it up a little so you can see he can come in this far and then out that far, and he can swing down and swing up, and then he's got a toe pivot as well. So very nicely articulated Dooku. Oh, we can do the splits. Let's see. So the hips actually can come out as far as the skirt will allow. They can go out that far. And then they will also drop down if you want to sort of try to get them to kick out further. I don't find the drop down to be terribly functional because usually it's what allows the leg to kick all the way up this way. But because the skirt's there, it's almost like kind of pointless to have it. But if you need to make him a little bit taller or, do something fidgety with the articulation, it's there if you need it. But yeah, so, kind of a little bit of a letdown of a release. I do wish the material was darker. I wish it just had a better overall look to it because it's got the floaty cape, the kind of puffy light cape. It would really have done wonders if it had a wired feature throughout the cape. It looks nice, but the cape does not position well. And then obviously the color of the uniform or the color of his outfit is just a letdown. It's just too chocolatey, I guess. It's like milk chocolate and not dark. Like almost, it should be almost black, I think. And that would look a lot more evil, a lot darker. Like we're like borderline Jedi robes. And I guess maybe it makes a little sense because, he's former Jedi, but a lot darker would have been much more menacing and evil, in my opinion, but it's not a garbage figure. It's got a great likeness. It's got some really cool accessories. The lightsaber is beautiful, and overall, it's decent. Is it worth $70? Probably not. I don't think I would go out there and pay the full price for it, but if you want it, it's gonna be that much or more because these are the exclusives and these generally sell out and you just can't find them for less. I know some of them have, and maybe all of the negative reaction to this one will cause it to kind of like drop in the aftermarket and people will sell theirs off or something like that. I know a lot of people are just totally down on it. I don't know if they're going to sell theirs because a lot of people are just talk usually, but if they do start selling them off, there could be a price drop, but I don't know. I wouldn't guarantee it. The likeness is good, and I'm fairly happy with it. I wish it was a regular release. I'd be much happier spending $50 on this than $70. So, that's probably my biggest gripe is that it is an exclusive and it's expensive. So anyway, thanks for watching my video. I will stop rambling now. Tune into some of my other videos. I just did a video of the SH Figuarts Thanos from Endgame, and check out the DorkLair podcast and find us on Instagram at the DorkLair. And until next time, may the Force be with you. DorkLair.